I'm not someone who makes a habit of using the Notepad app on my phone. I am still someone who insists on using pen and paper, as it helps me remember what I am writing down better. While I use the stock Notepad app in situations where that's all I have, I typically transfer all the notes in the app to a physical notepad as soon as I can. Imagine my surprise then, when I happened to open the app after not using it for a few days, only to see a new note was written yesterday. I opened it up and only found a couple words written down. They're coming. I didn't think much of that first note. At the time, I just thought it was some kind of glitch, or that the improbable happened, and I managed to leave my phone unlocked, placed it in my pocket, and then it kept hitting buttons that happened to create this note. Unlikely, but not unheard of either. About 3 days went by before I got onto the note app again. This time there were 3 new notes, despite the fact that I hadn't opened the app once. I opened them all in order. It felt my anxiety grow as I did. They're almost there. They're here. Don't look at them. That last note had just been created a few hours ago. I glanced out the window and saw the sun high in the sky, but didn't see anything suspicious. At that moment though, I heard a knock on my door. While it was likely just a neighbor, I could still feel my anxiety rising as I walked towards the front of my house. By chance, I glanced down at my phone and saw that I had a new note. Do not open the door. I hesitated as the knocks on my door started getting faster and louder. I stood in place, unable to get myself to move away from the door or towards it. I was frozen in a mixture of anxiety, fear, and dread. I tried to tell myself to go open the door because someone may need my help. I also tried to tell myself to move, to get as far away from the door as possible. My body refused to do either, and instead I just stood there as the knocking continued. I glanced down at my phone again and saw there was another note left for me. They are already inside. My breath left me. My anxiety soared through the roof, and I spun around in a panic, looking everywhere for whatever the hell had broke in. The knocking had stopped, and I heard glass shatter in the kitchen. I quickly ran to the front door and found it locked from the outside somehow. I started to panic even more as I ran to my bedroom and slammed the door shut. I moved my dresser and wardrobe over the door as quickly as I could and moved against the far wall. Sliding down it with my eyes fixed on the door, the knocking suddenly started again, this time not from any of the doors, but the wall I was sitting against. I jumped up with a scream, scrambling to the other side of the room. The knocking on the far wall stopped, just as the knocking on the wall closest to me began. I screamed as I desperately pushed against the furniture blocking the door in an attempt to get out. Just like that, the knocking on the wall ceased, and now came from the other side of the door. I jumped back and just stood in the middle of the room, unsure what to do and terrified out of my mind. I finally thought of my phone and quickly dug it out of my pocket, almost dropping it in the process. I checked the notes again and found that I had 6 new notes. Stop fighting. Don't look at them. Look at us. Run. You can't escape. Leave. At that exact moment, something hit the wall hard enough to crack it. I felt my heart beat faster as my panic went into overdrive. I ran over to the window and threw it open just as something hit the wall next to it hard enough to cause another crack. I went through the window head first, and just as I was about to hit the ground, I felt something cold grab my foot. I slammed headfirst into the side of the house as my momentum was suddenly halted. I felt dazed as I was being slowly pulled up and back into the house. I dug my fingers into the side of my house trying to get a grip on anything I could in order to stop whatever this thing was from dragging me back inside with it. I managed to grab the lip of the window just as I was being dragged in. I held on for dear life, trying desperately to avoid whatever was after me. Just as my fingers started to slip up, I heard a high-pitched scream, and whatever was pulling me let go. I fell and quickly made my way outside. My head pounded due to the earlier impact, and I felt as though my heart was going to jump right out of my chest. I wanted to turn around and see what was there, but I could no longer get my head to move, and I felt my consciousness swimming in and out before finally fading. I woke up in the hospital a day later with bandages on my head and a raging headache. At this point, I wish I had some answers, or even knew what questions to ask. My phone was broken at some point, so I couldn't retrieve the notes to show anyone, even if I didn't think they would just simply insist on a mental evaluation while I'm here. I plan on staying with my parents while I sell the house and find a new one. Honestly, the worst thing about all of this isn't the fact that I was almost killed by something. The worst thing about it all was that I had no real answer, or even vague guesses. Something was there to protect me, and something was there to harm me. That's all I will likely ever know.